Sturm-Liouville problems or Sturm-Liouville equations. So the Sturm-Liouville equation is nothing but the eigenvalue equations. We already studied that Lu is equal to minus lambda Wx u of x. So we know what is this L. L is a self-adjoint operator, differential operator. So Lu is equal to, we already studied that Lu is equal to d by dx of p of x du by dx minus q of x u of x. So when we apply the value of L into this equation, you will get this equation as d by dx of p of x dy by dx minus q of x u of x, when we take lambda here, plus lambda w of x u of x is equal to 0. This equation is known as the Sturm-Liouville or Sturm-Liouville equation. Okay, so SL. So this is SL equation and the operator is known as SL operator. So we can find out the values of p of x, q of x, w, etc. From these equations. These problems we already studied in our last class. So here p of x, q of x and w of x are real functions of x. Also they are continuous in the entire domain of x. So that about the Sturm-Liouville equation. So let us discuss about boundary conditions. So we know that what we already studied about the eigenvalue equations in second order differential equations. The eigenfunctions u lambda of x, it have to satisfy certain imposed boundary conditions. So what is a boundary condition? We already studied in our school classes that for dynamical problems like motion, we have to define the initial position and initial velocity of a moving body in order to solve the problem. So these conditions are known as boundary conditions in the case of a dynamical problem. Similarly, in the case of this differential equations, it have to satisfy certain boundary conditions. So we know that here the boundary conditions are p of x, v star of x du by dx at x is equal to a is equal to 0. Similarly, p of x, v of x du by dx at x is equal to b is also 0. Here u of x and v of x are solutions of a particular ordinary differential equation. Here our ordinary differential equations is L of u plus lambda w of x u of x is equal to 0. We know that lambda w is a weight function or density functions. Lambda is eigenvalue and this L is an eigenfunction. Sorry, L is an operator and u is an eigenfunction. These boundary conditions can also be written as v star p u dash at x is equal to a is equal to v star p u dash at x is equal to b. So we know that the ordinary differential equation is nothing but L of u is equal to lambda wx u of x is equal to 0. So let us discuss about the Hermitian operator. We know that L of u is equal to, for a self-adjoint operator, L of u is equal to L bar of u. So multiply with the v star and integrate, we will get, let us multiply with v star. So a to b v star Lu dx, that is equal to integral v star this p d by dx of u dash can be written as pu dash whole dash. So that is equal to integral a to b v star pu dash whole dash dx plus integral a to b v star q of x u of x dx, or v star q u dx. Here it is not u star, it is v star. So when we apply the integration by parts, we will get integral a to b v star pu dash whole dash dx is equal to first function into integral of the second minus integral of differential of the first into integral of the second. So v star pu dash integral of pu dash whole dash is nothing but pu dash. So first term is v star first function into integral of the second pu u dash from the limit a to b minus integral a to b differential of the first, that is v star dash integral of the second, that is pu dash dx. So the minus integral a to b v star dash pu dash dx can be written as, using boundary condition, when we apply the boundary condition, this term will vanish. So the term remaining in this equation is nothing but minus integral a to b v star dash pu dash dx. So similar way, when we apply the integration by parts, by taking the first function as v star dash p. So first function v star dash p into integral of the second, that is integral of u dash, that is u, between the limit a to p, minus into minus become plus integral a to b, this integral of the second function is u and differential of the first function is nothing but p v star dash whole dash into dx. So integral a to b b star lu dx will become integral a to b u p v star dash whole dash dx plus integral a to b v star q dx. Here v star q u dx. These two may also vanish when we apply the boundary condition. That are the importance of the boundary condition. So we will, after integrating this, we will get the result as integral a to b. This is nothing but integral a to b u v u l v star dx. That means here the operator L is an Hermitian with respect to u of x and v of x. So here Hermitian operator is nothing but the self-adjoint operator plus by applying the boundary conditions. We can say that Hermitian property follows from self-adjointness plus boundary conditions. So self-adjoint operator can be called as Hermitian operator, but it have to obey certain boundary conditions. You already studied the Hermitian operator in matrix chapter. Here also some properties of Hermitian operator. What are the three important properties of Hermitian operator? The eigenvalue of an Hermitian operator are real, and eigenfunction of Hermitian operator are orthogonal. The eigenfunction of Hermitian operator form a complete set. These are the three important properties of Hermitian operator. The same thing you will study in the quantum mechanics class also. Now we are going to prove the first two properties of a Hermitian operator. That is, the eigenvalues are real and eigenfunctions form orthogonal sets. So LUI is equal to lambda I W ui that is equal to 0. That is our eigenvalue equation. Assume the existence of a second eigenvalue and eigenfunction, that is uj. So luj plus lambda j wuj is equal to 0. So when we take the complex conjugate of this equation, that is equation number 2, you will get L into uj dash plus lambda j star w uj star 0. Then we multiply equation 1 with uj star, this is equation number 1. When we multiply this with equation number 1 and subtract it from this, we will get, so first step is we have to multiply the equation 1 with the uj star, and second step is we have to multiply with the equation 3 with the ui. Then we have to subtract it from 1, and then we have to subtract equation 3 from 1. Okay, so first we have to multiply this equation uj star. So uj star lui plus lambda I uj star wui, that is equal to 0. So when we multiply it with the ui, you will get ui l uj star plus lambda j star ui w uj star is equal to 0. So when we subtract 3 from 1 after multiplying with the uj star and uj and ui respectively, we will get the first term will become uj star lui minus ui luj star, that is equal to, when we take this term to right hand side, that will become minus. So you will get uj star minus, lambda j star minus lambda I W ui uj star. Here we integrate between the limit a and b. The value of x will be less than and equal to a and should be greater than or equal to. The value of x should be greater than or equal to a and should be less than or equal to b. That is the range of x. So from the Hermitian property, we already studied that this term, that is left hand side, should be vanish. So the right hand must vanish. So our equation will become uj star minus lambda j star minus lambda I integral a to b ui uj star w dx should be equal to 0. If I is equal to j, let us consider the condition when I is equal to j. The integral cannot vanish except the trivial case ui is equal to 0. So that trivial case is not possible. So this first term, that is term outside the integral, that is lambda j star minus lambda I, should be equal to 0. In order to satisfy this equation, that is lambda j star minus lambda I integral a to b ui uj star w dx is equal to 0. So in order to satisfy this equation, lambda I star minus lambda I is equal to 0 if I is equal to j. That is the only solution when I is equal to j, because at that time the integral does not vanish. So lambda I star is equal to lambda j, that is eigenvalue is real. If lambda I star is equal to lambda j, the eigenvalue should be real, otherwise it will not be equal. So here we prove that the eigenvalue of a Hermitian operator should be real. Real values of Hermitian operator has a fundamental significance in quantum mechanics. In quantum mechanics, what is eigenvalue? It corresponds to a precisely measurable quantity. Such precisely measurable quantity like angular momentum and energy should be a real number. So, this is in accordance with quantum mechanics. So, the eigenvalues is always real. Eigenvalues are always real. In the second case, suppose I is not equal to j. What happened? If I is equal to not equal to j, means lambda I is not equal to lambda j. So, this equation, it should be equal to 0. That is lambda j star minus lambda I integral a to b ui uj star w dx should be equal to 0. This equal to 0 means the integral should be, this integral should be equal to 0. That is integral a to b ui uj star w dx should be equal to 0. So the function ui and uj are orthogonal. In order to satisfy these conditions, integral a to b ui uj star w is equal to 0, ui should be orthogonal to uj with respect to the weight function over the integral a to b. So here we prove the second property of an eigenfunction, or we prove the second property of an Hermitian operator. So we are studying about the second order differential equations. So we prove that this second order solutions of this second order differential equations are linearly independent functions. So in this process, in the Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization, we are converting the linearly independent functions. They are not orthogonal into orthogonal functions. So the process of converting a non-orthogonal set of linearly independent functions into orthogonal and normalized function is known as Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization. So in Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization is a method that takes a non-orthogonal set of linearly independent functions and construct an orthogonal set over an arbitrary interval and with respect to an arbitrary weight function or density function. So converting an orthogonal linear independent functions converting a non-orthogonal linear independent functions into orthogonal set of function is called Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization. So now let us discuss about the orthogonal functions. What is an orthogonal function? Suppose ui and uj are two functions. Ui star x, w of x is weight function, uj of dx is equal to 0 between the limit a and b. Then we can say that ui and uj are orthogonal. Otherwise we can say that, or we can write the inner product of ui uj, that is bracket ui comma uj is equal to 0 only when ui and uj are orthogonal. So that is the mathematical expression for orthogonal function, or mathematical expression for orthogonality. It is nothing but integral a to b ui star of x, w of x, uj of x is equal to 0. Then when we can say that a function is normalized. A function is normalized when integral a to b phi a star of x, w of x, phi I of x is equal to dx is equal to 1. So in this case the function is normalized. Here phi I and phi I is a normalized function. Its norm is equal to 1. So phi I star x w phi I of x dx is equal to 0. So it is between the limit of a to b with respect to weight function phi. So here for convenience we are considering a real function. At that time ui star is equal to ui and phi I star is equal to phi I. So consider the real case. In that case a to b phi I square w dx, that is equal to ni square. When it is equal to 1 we can say it is normalized. So since our basic equation is L phi of x plus lambda w into phi of x is equal to 0, it is linear and homogeneous equations. So the normalized phi I will satisfy this equation, that is integral a to b psi I square w of x dx is equal to 0. Here one correction, this is phi I not psi I. Okay, so a to b phi I square w of x dx is equal to 0. Otherwise integral a to b phi I phi j w of x dx is equal to delta ij. If I is equal to j, in that case phi I square, you will get phi I square w of dx. That case it is equal to 1. Otherwise it is equal to 0. So this is a normalization property. So it is normalized into unity. So in this Schmidt orthonormalization process, we consider three sets of functions. First one is an original function which is linearly independent. Given set, they are only linearly independent, and it is notated by a letter ui, or it can be generally notated as un of x or ui of x, where n varies from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Then we will change this linearly independent set into a orthogonal set, and it is notated by letter psi n of x. So psi n of x is constructed from un of x. Finally, a set of function which is notated by phi n of x, which are we obtain from the normalization of psi n's. So these phi n's are orthogonal and normalized. Okay, so we construct an orthogonal normalized functions, that is phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, etc. That is phi n of x, from linearly independent functions un of x, that is u1, u2, u3, etc. So this process for constructing phi n of x from un of x is known as the Schmidt orthonormalization process. So our original function is un of x. From that we construct psi n of x, which are linearly independent, orthogonal, but they are not normalized functions. They are unnormalized functions. From psi n of x we will construct phi n of x. They are linearly independent, orthogonal and normalized, or we call that as orthonormalized functions. So here in Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization, we construct orthonormal set from linearly independent orthogonal set. Suppose integral a to b psi a square of x w of x dx is equal to n, or we can write psi a square root of n psi a square root of n w of x dx is equal to 1. Here this are normalized. Okay. So psi I is not normalized, but phi I is nothing but psi I by square root of n is normalized. So this is orthogonal and normalized functions. So psi I is equal to, phi I is equal to psi I by square root of n. So normalized set. Here, so in the process we have 3 steps. Here there are 3 steps. First one is we have a linearly independent non-orthogonal un of x. From that we construct an orthogonal set of psi n of x. Then from psi n of x we finally set function phi n of x, which is orthonormal. So from un of x, using orthogonality condition, we obtain psi n. From psi n we get phi n by normalization. So here we can write this as, here this is a table that is given in your textbook, that is Afghan. So what is un of x? Are linearly independent non-orthogonal non-unnormalized functions. So what is psi n of x? They are linearly independent orthogonal and unnormalized set of functions. And what is phi n of x? They are linearly independent orthogonal and normalized set, orthonormals. Okay. Suppose we can start with n is equal to 0. So that is psi 0 of x, that is equal to u0 of x. The first function is a normalized. Sorry, it is an orthogonal function. So then when we do the normalization, we will get phi 0 of x, that is equal to psi 0 of x divided by square root of n. It is nothing but square root of psi 0 square w dx whole raised to 1 by 2. That is, we know that psi n of phi n of is equal to psi n of x divided by square root of n. So for n is equal to 1, you will get, so from this we will going to derive higher terms. Suppose when n is equal to 1, we have the function phi 1 of x, that can be written as the combination of the lower order orthonormal function plus an unnormalized function. So psi 1 can be written as u1 of x plus a10 phi 0 of x. We know that phi 0 is an orthonormalized function, so it is perpendicular to psi 1, orthogonal to psi 1. So when we multiply this equation with phi 0 and integrate between the limit a to b, so integral a to b phi 1 psi 0 w of x dx is equal to integral, w is weight function. With respect to weight function, we are going to differentiate this equation. So it is u1 of x phi 0 of x. We are multiplying this equation throughout phi 0. So u1 of x phi 0 of x w of x dx plus a10, it is a constant we can take outside, a10 integral phi 0 square wf(x) dx. So these are orthogonal, so this term vanishes and this is normalized. So integral phi 0 square w of dx is equal to 1. So from that we can calculate what is a10. So a10, when we take into the left hand side, that a10 is equal to minus integral u1 of x phi 0 of x w of x dx between the limit a and b. So you will get this equation as, so when we take the orthogonality condition. We already take that orthogonality condition, integral psi 1 phi 0 of x w of x is equal to 0, and orthonormal condition, that is integral phi 0 square of x phi 0 square w of x dx, that is equal to 1. So we will get a10 is equal to minus integral u1 phi 0 of x w of x dx. So we know that. So when we apply for a0 in the previous equation, that the equation is psi 1 of x is equal to u1 of x plus a10 phi 0. So what is a10? So we get what we get from unnormalized u1 of x. We get a orthogonal set of psi 1 of x, or orthogonal function, that is psi 1 of x. From the orthogonal function psi 1 of x, we will get an orthonormal function phi 1 of x. How we'll get the orthonormal function? That is the function divided by square root of n. So we will get the orthonormal function phi 1 of x is equal to psi 1 of x divided by integral psi 1 square w of x dx all raised to 1 by 2. So when we get phi 1, we can calculate phi 2. Phi 2 can be written as psi 2. We find out a orthogonal set, orthogonal function psi 2 is equal to u2 plus a21 phi 1 plus a20 phi 0. Here phi 1 and phi 0 are normal to psi 2. Okay. So when we do the similar operations, when multiply the whole term with phi 1 of x, okay, and integrate between the limit and using orthogonality conditions, this term and this term will vanish, and from that equation when we integrate, we will get a21 of x, and we have to apply the normalization condition here. So we will get a21 as minus u2 of x phi 1 of x. We have to multiply the whole term with phi 1, then phi 1 of x w of x dx. Similarly, we will obtain a20 of x. So we have, for that we have to multiply the whole term with phi 0 of x, and this term will vanish and also this term will vanish, and you will get, and applying normalization here, you will get a20 as minus u2 integral phi 0 of x w dx. So we did here so we did the calculations here, how we will get a21 of x. Here when we integrate over here, we multiply phi 2 with phi 1, sorry psi 2 with the phi 1, you will get psi 2 of x phi 1 of x w dx is equal to u2 into phi 1 of x wx dx plus a21. When we multiply phi 1, you will get phi 1 square w dx, a21 integral phi 1 of x phi 0 of x w dx. So phi 1 is psi 2 is orthogonal to phi 1. Phi 1 and phi 0 are also orthogonal. So that term will vanish. You will get this equation as 0 is equal to integral u2 phi 1 w of x dx and a21 phi 1 square w dx. This term will vanish due to this term will equal to not vanish, equal to 1. So from this equation you will get a21 of x as this. So you will get a21 and similarly a20. So we get psi, that is normalized, so that is an orthogonal function. Then we have to normalize it by the normalization process. So that is the normalized function phi 2 of x is given by psi 2 of x. So phi 2 of x is equal to psi 2 of x divided by integral a to b psi 2 of x whole square w dx square root. So using the same procedure, we can also find out phi 3, phi 4, etc. So in generalization, we can write this. Any function psi I of x, that is orthogonal function psi I of x, can be written as ui of x ai0 phi 0 plus ai1 phi 1 plus etc plus ai I minus 1 phi I minus 1 x, and any function can be written as aij is equal to minus integral ui phi j w dx, and orthonormal function phi I is equal to psi I of x by integral psi I square w dx whole raised to 1 by 2.